Hey guys, what's up? ScottishDuckTales once again, and I'm unprepared once again because this is my review slash thoughts on Pandora's Tower for the Wii. So yeah, let's get right into this. Now, this is like the third time I've tried to do this, right? Because every time I sit down and I try to fucking explain how I feel about this game, I end up mega rambling and shit, and it's all irrelevant, and basically, I have a lot to say about this game. Overall, I fucking loved it. I really did, you know. It's definitely up there with the other Operation Rainfall games to me. Speaking of that, and look, I'm already rambling already, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of comparing of this game, you know, comparing it to the other Operation Rainfall games, Xenoblade Chronicles and Last Story. Short answer is that it's not as good as those two games. It's the weakest of the three. I already said that. So yeah, if I start comparing it too much, I'm sorry. A lot of reviewers and that have been doing that already, but in any case, here we go. Now, Pandora's Tower was developed by Ganbarian. They're a Japanese developer, and I had a wee look at their Wikipedia page. This is all the research I did, though. And pretty much all that's on their track record is One Piece games, you know? And looking at Metacritic, the One Piece games tend to be about a little hit and miss, so they're not really an established, like, AAA developer, you know, not like a Monolith Soft or Mistwalker, you know, who are two of the best RPG developers out there. So, in a way you can say that Pandora's Tower, it depends on how you look at it, you know, because if this game just came out by itself, you know, there was no Operation Rainfall, it would undeniably fall into, you know, a really sort of niche, obscure market that would, you know, for years from now probably be remembered, because it's coming out just at the end of the console's lifespan, so yeah, it would be pretty much forgotten. But no, it definitely got, you know, a sort of wee push that it deserved by being part of the Operation Rainfall trilogy, so it's definitely going to get recognition for that. But at the same time, there are going to be people that'll play Last Story and Xenoblade, then go into this and probably think, oh, this isn't as good. Right. Now, the people who do say that, fuck them. Yeah, because I did really like this game. Again, it's not as good as the other ones, but yeah. Let's start finally talking about this, shall we? Now, the game follows three main characters. Your hero, Aaron, your girlfriend, Elena, and the sort of merchant character, Mavda. Here's the best way to describe the plot, right? Imagine Shadow of the Colossus, but every time you went back, you know, every time you slain a Colossus and you go back to the temple, your girlfriend, who in Shadow of the Colossus is dead, and the whole point of the game is to bring her back to life. Imagine if she was still alive and she could talk to you, you know, and give you, like, support as a lover and whatnot. But that's it. That's exactly what this is like, and, you know, yeah, I probably should have explained this. I probably should have explained it like this first. The whole goal of the game is that you're trying to free your girlfriend from this curse, and the only way to do it is that if she actually eats the flesh of these monsters in this tower. It's pretty sick stuff, but at the same time, you know, really interesting. Because she doesn't want to eat it, and yeah, Aaron just really wants to cure her because he loves her. So yeah, and you're kind of in this observatory outside the towers, and that's kind of the hub area where you can buy items, talk to Elena, and regain your health, all that bollocks. And every time you go back, you know, Elena's always there waiting for you. And she's always doing little cool things, you know, like, you know, just hanging up the washing, or cooking something, or reading a book, you know, she's doing something different almost every time, and there's even times where it's like, you come back, and you've got to go up a wee hill to get to the observatory, and she'll be in the distance, she'll be like, Aaron, welcome back. It really felt homely and genuine, you know. This is probably not bringing this across the right way, but the actual character of Elena and the relationship she had with Aaron in this game was one of my favourite things about it, and really stood out, you know. In fact, Elena's character in general was awesome, because they added quite a bit of detail to it, like one that's kind of always going to stick with me. If you don't bring her enough flesh in time, right, she'll start to mutate into a monster. And when she starts to mutate, some sort of like minging pus starts coming out of her flesh, and it leaks all over the carpet and stuff, and you can see it if you come back too late, because the game is on a time limit. I'll get to that in a minute. And I remember coming back one time, she had started to mutate, and there's Skype. She had started to mutate, and she was down on her knees cleaning up the smudge, you know, and she sort of looks up to you and says, "Aaron, sorry, I think I made a stain on the carpet." And I just saw that and I was like, I will save this girl! Without a doubt! Yeah, it was just, yeah, Elena was genuinely mega likeable in this game and I totally wanted to save her. But yeah, that was one of the things that stood out to me the most, you know, Elena. The whole story itself is really good. It's very befitting of a video game, I would say. Because, you know, most RPGs, it's kind of a really long, epic tale, filled with twists and villains and love interests and whatnot. This was kind of focused on a specific goal that you just had to reach. And there was, like, little instances of exposition, and then just little bits of enhancements to the plot. But overall, it was kept really simple. It let you kind of interpret things yourself, so to speak. And, yeah, like I said, that's the sort of way a video game should tell stories, you know, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, overall story was really good. It was really, like, you know, bizarre and gruesome in a way, but at the same time, really sweet. You know, left me with a really happy feeling after I'd beaten it. So yeah, was there anything else about the story I want to touch on? There are 5 different endings, there's 5 different endings depending on your affinity with Elena. I'll come back to that in a minute. But, yeah, apart from that, it was really good. It was. Aaron himself, I was just gonna say this as an observation, really. Aaron is not a silent protagonist, but he might as well be, because he has like 5 lines in the whole game. I think it was because I think they kind of wanted to push him as a silent protagonist, but they just gave him some lines for the hell of it. I don't know. It wasn't a bad thing anyway. I'm just saying that as FYI. What else? So, in terms of presentation, I think the game is gorgeous. You know, again, it's getting compared to fucking Xenoblade and Last Story. You know, it's got quite a lot to live up to, if you will. But from a technical standpoint, I think it's gorgeous, you know. Again, with the sort of details and the character models and the when you're exploring through the towers, you know, things can look really damn gorgeous at times. In terms of art, though, I suppose it is a bit, you know, underwhelming. It is by no means bad. Again, it's just not as good as Xenoblade or Last Story. I guess one of the bigger things that I noticed was that most of the towers they weren't that distinct from each other, you know. They all had different colour palettes and wee bits of scenery, but overall, their overall structure was just a bit samey, for my liking. So I guess that's what most people are saying when they say that the art style is bad, but just one look at the, you know, limited edition art book and that, and I don't know, I just think there is no way this game had bad art direction. All that stuff looks gorgeous. And yeah, the game is by no means bad looking, so yeah, I'm sure you can all make your own judgment on that from gameplay and whatnot. In terms of sound, again, not as good as Last Story or Xenoblade, but it's all fully orchestrated, it all fits, it's all well written. Yeah, but I didn't exactly go on YouTube after beating the game and listen to some songs like I did with Last Story and Xenoblade. I'll leave it at that. The voice acting is brilliant though. Better than Xenoblade and Last Story for that matter, at least to me. Yeah, like I said, you know, I really got sort of, I was really, where should I put this? I'm trying to say this in a way that isn't going to come off creepy. I was really into the relationship between Aaron and Elena, right? And Elena's voice actor really helped benefit that. You know, she delivered her lines really well and whatnot. But yeah, good voice acting. Good voice acting. Okay. Now, gameplay. It's stuck into 2 parts, obviously. The parts where you're in the towers, hacking and slashing away and doing all your RPG doohickeys. And the time when you're in the observatory, managing your items and talking to Elena and whatnot. Now, the tower-based gameplay, it's an action RPG sort of affair, okay? It's not really traditional in that sense. It's kind of God of War, Devil May Cry stuff, if there was a bit more RPG elements to it. Combat is pretty simple. You've only got like 1 button for attack, and you can just hold down the button to charge up your attacks and unleash them really quickly, which makes fighting battles one-on-one ridiculously simple, because they fall down, and then you just have to charge up your attack, and as soon as they get up, you just start wailing on them again, and then they fall down, and then you charge up your attack again, and it's like that. And it only really gets annoying when you're fighting multiple opponents, because obviously you've got to keep their attacks in mind as well. But yeah, overall the combat is kind of easy. It is made more interesting by the use of a chain, which I sometimes call the whip, because it makes me think. The game got compared a lot to Castlevania, and in a way it kind of is that sort of Metroidvania exploration sort of structure, but not necessarily. But the chain itself added an extra level to the combat, which really did show off, I think, because you can point the controller at the screen, at the Wiimote that is, and yeah, the chain will rocket in that direction, and you can tie up enemies or tie them to objects, and yeah, it's interesting to experiment. I should probably bring that up though. See, these are things I should bring up from the beginning. You can play the game with the classic controller or with the Wiimote and Nunchuck. When you're playing with the Wiimote and Nunchuck, like I said, you've got a reticle on screen where you want to aim your whip. And you can shake the Wii remote to yank your whip, usually when you're trying to pull an item out of an enemy once you've killed them. Or you can shake the nunchuck to spin them around and do a little throw-in move. You can do all that with the classic controller. The pointer on the screen is controlled with the right analog stick, and waggle to the Wii remote and waggle to the nunchuck is just assigned to 2 buttons. So, with that said, you might think, well, playing with the classic controller must be shit. I played the whole game with it. I don't know why, I just, for some reason, wanted to use the classic controller. But overall, I totally understand, I totally get that most people will probably want to play with the Wii Remote. Because unlike Last Story and Xenoblade Chronicles, which were built with classic controller support in mind, Pandora's Tower definitely supports the sort of Wii motion gimmicks the most. And it pays off well, because I did play a bit with the Wii Remote and it was rather good. But yeah, outside of combat, as you're exploring the towers, it's actually more like Zelda than Castlevania, because there's like wee environmental puzzles, and you've got to go through the rooms and all that, and you can solve little puzzles that'll allow you to backtrack really quickly. And that's very important, the actual design of it all is well structured so that you can backtrack and get back to where you were in as short amount of time as possible. And that's because there's a time management limit. Those of you following me on Twitter know that I fucking hate time limits, and before this game came out, when I heard about it, I was like, oh god, they've ruined it. But that wasn't the case, really. I do think the game would have been better had the timer not been there at all, because that's just a general rule I find. But everything was built with the time management in mind, and as a result, it came off really well done. Like I said, you can backtrack really easily. You can find flesh really easily, because you've got to find flesh to give to Elena, which, keeps her from turning into a monster, and that's what makes the time go up. So yeah, it was... The time limit, it didn't get in the way of the gameplay at all, really. I was quite surprised, in fact. Yeah. One last thing I'll say about the tower gameplay is that the bosses were really awesome. They were more about solving puzzles than actually, pure skill, so that's always good in my book. Now, back at the Observatory is where you're talking to Elena. There's not really much to it, but depending on how much you want to get the good ending, you'll be at this the most, because you can give her gifts that you buy off of Mavda. You can talk to her a lot, and you can run into a lot of little random cutscenes, which were always a treat, by the way. Like, for example, you can buy her flower seeds from Mavda, and if you give her enough flower seeds, you'll get this cool little cutscene where all the flowers she planted are in bloom and stuff. And it's kind of heartwarming stuff. But yeah, outside of that, there's not much to do at the Observatory apart from manage your items, upgrade your weapons, and rest to regain your health. Right. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about with the gameplay. Man, yeah, there's a lot I wanted to, make sure I got across here in this review, because this was one of these games that I just really dig, I mean, I've come across dozens of games like this where I just want to turn a camera on and just describe what I loved about it, and then just go tell everybody out to go buy it. And that's exactly the case here. Go buy Pandora's Tower. It is really fucking good, okay? Yeah, that's pretty much it. The game's... lastly, I'll say the game's really long. It took me about 25-30 hours to beat, which is really good for a sort of hack and slasher. It really depends on how much you get into the sort of the affinity system, you know, to get the better endings, you know, because I tried to get it up to as high as possible, and I did get the best ending. Like I said, there's 5 different endings. And also, when you beat the game again, it unlocks new rooms in the towers themselves. And I haven't actually explored it that much yet. I need to go back. I'm going to go back and do that, actually. I don't know what they do, but surely there'll be nice little extras, I think. Maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that's that, guys. I think I've said everything I wanted to. Yeah. This game is by no means, you know, it's by no means just been flung in there with Xenoblade and Last Story, you know, just to make it a trilogy. And you know, it's as good as those games. It's the weakest of the 3, but it's still as good as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. That's all, really. So yeah, see you after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.